Hi there, beautiful souls, I'm back. Today we're diving deep into the world of emotions. You know, those nebulous and complex things that make us beautifully human. But we're not talking about just any emotion. Today we're talking about the top daddy, the big dog. Anger gets us into the most trouble, quite often, and rightfully so. You see, anger is like that bold friend that always steals the spotlight at the party. They're loud and boisterous and drawing lots of attention to themselves. But under that fiery exterior, they're hiding something. They always say the loudest one in the room is the most insecure, and that works for the emotions as well. The loudest one, aka anger, is the most insecure. And today, we're peeling back the layers to see what's underneath that complex emotion. So let's start with the basics. What is anger? What's the deal? Well, it's not some random emotion that just pops up to ruin your day. It's been hardwired into us as some sort of emotional bodyguard through years and years of evolution. It serves a purpose. Think about it. When our ancestors faced danger, they got angry and protected themselves. Fast forward today, it still serves as a defense mechanism. Now here's where it gets juicy. Anger, my friends, is the master of disguise. It's like a superhero for all the other emotions. It protects them. Beneath that rage, you'll find other emotions like fear, sadness, humiliation, all of those secondary emotions that make us feel vulnerable. Think about it. Anger gives you power, makes you feel strong and in control. It gives you that rage, that fire. But if you look underneath that anger, what is causing it? It's usually something about a fear of rejection, a fear of humiliation, a fear of abandonment. Something hurt you, and now you're angry about it. What was that trigger that hurt you? I'll give you a real life example. When I get angry, I almost always burst into tears. Almost always. I cannot control the tears that come with my anger. People see this as a sign of weakness, and for the longest time I was like, no, I'm just angry. But it turns out that underneath those tears was actual secondary emotions that made me feel powerless and vulnerable. It was a fear of abandonment. It was a fear of being alone. It was humiliation, shame, grief. All of those hide underneath that anger. We don't like to feel like a victim. We don't like to feel powerless. We don't want to feel vulnerable. Okay, so if anger is a primary emotion and then there's a secondary emotion underneath of it, how do you get to that secondary emotion? You have to look at the triggers. What triggered that feeling? And it takes a little bit of shadow work. You have to really get down to it and be honest with yourself. I'm angry because this. Because then it's the next part of that sentence, right? So we say, I'm angry because she hurt me, because it makes me feel humiliated. What is that secondary story that you're telling yourself underneath of it? You might not be expressing it externally, and it might be subconscious at this point, but you can uncover it. Get to the root of your emotion. Get to the root of your trigger. Ask yourself what happened. Like, what happened in your exterior? What is happening to you internally? What story are you telling yourself? What belief is running through your brain? She's doing this because she's evil and she's manipulating me. It's a fear of being manipulated, a fear of being taken advantage of. That's your baseline. That's your secondary emotion. That's the one that's hidden underneath of the primary emotion of anger. Recognize when you're feeling uncomfortable, when you've been triggered, when you feel something in your body, a physical sensation, tension, fire, tightness, sometimes even chills. Anger affects your body in a somatic way. It's very physical. You cannot deny that. Get to the root of why that is happening. Identify other times when you feel that pain, when you feel that tension. My best advice is to grab a journal and jot it down. Write down the whole scenario. Write down what you experienced physically in your environment. What were the circumstances? What were the thoughts that were in your brain about the circumstances, you know? I'll give you an example, right? Okay, so I had to go to the doctor to get blood work done. And I was being given a lot of directions, and it kind of flustered me, and I got embarrassed, but my reaction was not embarrassment, it was anger. I was angry because why couldn't they have just given me the instructions clearly? Why did they have to feed me so many instructions all at once? Why were they not helping me? Why did I feel so lost? See the stories I'm telling myself? So then write down the emotions that you felt about that. I felt silly. I felt like a child. I felt lost. But I displayed anger. Anger was my emotion that I expressed to Greg. I didn't express it to the nurses because I would never do that. That's just rude. So I expressed it to Greg, and then I got to the root of it. I felt like a child. I felt lost. So then I tried to think back to a time in my life when I felt like that. Those three words, those three emotions, it doesn't even have to be emotions. It's the three things that made you feel that you can relate to, you know? So child, silly, lost. I thought back to my childhood when I didn't have the guidance that I needed. I thought back to a time when I felt really lost and embarrassed because then I got things wrong, and then I got punished for getting things wrong. Now we're getting to the root of that anger. We're seeing where it comes from. Shadow work is a beautiful tool, and it can really help you uncover what's underneath those primary emotions. Those secondary emotions, they're subconscious most often, and they are running the show. I used to be the angriest child, the angriest teenager. I don't know if I had anger as a child. I think I was very quiet. I think I took things in a lot and internalized it. But that internalization built up. The more anger, or the more emotions in general, not just anger, the more emotions you stuff down, the harder it gets to keep it stuffed, and the more emotional outbursts you have. That's literally a shadow. Anger is a huge shadow of mine. I don't feel like it's allowed. It's not okay to be angry. You have to be controlled, and you have to be graceful, and you have to be forgiving, and you cannot be angry at other people. But if you've seen my videos, you know that I have emotional angry outbursts, and that's normal. That's because I'm stuffing that anger down. I'm not allowing it to process. By letting it process, I can release it. And I used to be so angry. I used to be in DV relationships. I used to be physically violent. I had to defend myself, and I just carried that with me, and I just wanted to be loved. And I felt like the world was so mean and just scary and unsafe and uncontrollable. And the only expression I could have to protect myself and make myself not get hurt was anger. But underneath that anger was a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, which is why I was led to addiction. That's why I suffered for so many years. It's okay to get angry. Anger is normal, but it can go too far. We can become self-righteous and condescending and mean and malicious and not even mean to do this. It increases without our awareness so easily. So allow the anger. Don't shame yourself for the anger. Accept the anger, but look deeper. Try to see what's underneath of it. I used to be so angry, and now I find myself more peaceful, but I have to remind myself to allow that anger out when I feel it. Because of thinking it's wrong to be angry, it's ungraceful, I've internalized a lot of it, and that's why I have those emotional angry outbursts. But I'm working on it. I'm just as human as you are. I'm just as imperfect as you are. Truly, mindfulness is your secret weapon in all of this. Mindfulness is how you stay present. It's how you recognize what's going on, how you can determine what's a circumstantial thing, what is a factual thing in your environment that everyone else can agree on. I was given directions. I was given a lot of directions. That's kind of subjective. I was given directions as the circumstantial. Then when I go to my thoughts about it, I was given too many directions too quickly. See how I'm putting my subjective interpretation of what happened? Someone else might have seen it and been like, no, those are perfect instructions. You should have gotten that. So my circumstantial, which is the factual things about your environment, the thoughts about it, and then the emotional or the words that makes you feel silly, childish, lost. And then get to the root of that. Journaling is a huge tool for this. Staying present is a huge tool. And being honest with yourself and accepting, because sometimes those feelings, they're unconscious or subconscious for a reason. We're uncomfortable feeling them. We have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable to become a more embodied version of ourselves. Practice deep breathing, practice meditation, check in with yourself, especially in those moments of being triggered. Sometimes you can't do that journaling exercise in the moment, but you can always come back to it later. You can always journal this later. Journaling is such a valuable tool. I cannot express this enough. And self-reflection, being honest with yourself, being willing to accept whatever comes up without judgment. I didn't judge myself for feeling like a little child in that office, because why would I? I'm 37, I'm an adult, I know that, but I have a wound from when I was a child. Working on that and healing that makes me be a better person today. So express love to that inner child, that wounded child. Express love to your wounded parts. Accept them, embrace them, and embody them. Now I want to talk about vulnerability. It's your superpower, I swear. It's what connects us to other people. We often hide our vulnerable parts. We hide them out of shame and embarrassment because that's what we've been conditioned to do. But I'm telling you, express your vulnerable parts. Do it in a safe space. Do it with the people that you trust. Do it with people that you know and love. And then expand. Sharing your vulnerabilities makes you human, makes you connect with others. You will find your people. Expressing your vulnerability also allows you to connect with those deeper emotions and heal. As Brené Brown beautifully puts it, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up when you have no control over the outcome. Ready for some action steps to help you uncover those secondary emotions? Keep an emotion journal. I bet you didn't see that one coming. Consider consulting with a professional. This includes therapy, coaching, counseling, psychiatry, talking to your religious leaders. talking to people that have been through it before. They're not quite professionals, but they have experience in it. They know what you're going through. Or look for support groups in your area or online, not just recovery based. They could be about anything: grief, overeating, just living in general. I actually go to new moon and full moon circles, and I freaking love them. And I think I might want to host my own because I really enjoy them. We get together, a circle of women, and we just bond. And it's so good to be vulnerable and express what's really going on in my life with them, because most of the time I find myself keeping that to myself. And I know that's not healthy, but that's the human thing to do. Trying to embrace my vulnerabilities just like you are. Practice deep breathing and mindfulness techniques. Get grounded in the moment. You know, the age-old mindfulness techniques. 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. It works. It gets you grounded in the present moment. Sometimes I just like to tap my fingers, especially when I'm driving, because I find that that's when I dissociate the most. I will have depersonalization episodes or derealization episodes while I'm driving because it's that constant focus and my brain just goes zoop, offline. And so if I tap my fingers on the steering wheel, I can stay really grounded in the moment. So there you go, my lovely souls. I hope this helps. Anger might be the loudest emotion in the room, but it is not the only one with a voice and something to say. So let's get to those secondary emotions and see what's really driving our actions. What is driving that anger? What is making it so loud? And once you uncover those secondary emotions, the primary emotion of anger resolves itself. By digging deeper, exploring vulnerability, and practicing mindfulness, you can unlock a world of healing and self-discovery. I promise. Thank you so much for joining me on this emotional journey today. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content, and leave me a comment. Tell me about your journey with anger. Did you experience a lot of it growing up? Do you experience a lot of it now? I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I'd love to help you through this process. That's all I have for today, guys. Be weird, be kind. Bye!